Afternoon. Welcome to this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show. My name is Leon Jones. Today's topic, we're going to talk about why is the NFL mediocre? I have my points, and I'm going to get right to it. Over the past 5 years, I've been watching the NFL. Yes, there have been great players like Peyton Manning, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Ben Roethlisberger, and others. But compared to the past NFL players like Mean Joe Green, Terry Bradshaw, Ken Stabler, Bob Greasy, Roger Staubach, I've seen a decline in play. Now, I was watching Baltimore Ravens yesterday. I'm an avid Baltimore Ravens fan. Okay, they lost to Dallas yesterday. And shout out to Dallas. They look fantastic. But when I was watching the Ravens game, and I've watched other Ravens games as well, not picking on the Ravens, but I have to use this team as an example. I watched this team, and I watched other teams as well, and they don't know how to win. One of the reasons why they're winning a lot of these close games is because of the level of competition. I mean, when you beat the Browns by 5 points after being down by 20 yourself, that just tells me I don't know which team is going to show up. And what really bothers me about the NFL is the lack of discipline. I see more penalties. I even saw 12 extra points missed in a season. I've never seen that before. So my question is, are these players really taking their jobs seriously? I mean, I know the NFL is a business. But the sport has become something not to watch. In fact, I enjoy more college games. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't like the NCAA. I'm talking about the bowl system, the football bowl system, or the FBS. And the reason why I don't like that, they really need a playoff system. I mean, what they got today, the top four go to playoffs and everybody else goes to bowls. I don't like that. I really don't. Because it's always the power conferences. But going back to the NFL. When I watched the NFL, I watched a lot of ineptness. Teams don't run the ball well. I've seen Pittsburgh in one game against Dallas last week go for 4 2-point conversions and didn't convert. And to me, the decision making. And with all that being said, it leads to mediocrity. The referees. And I'm going to get on the referees right now. You talk about mediocrity. They're mediocre. I believe that the game is too fast for them. They can't keep up with it. Make a lot of bad calls. Certainly, I saw a couple of helmet-to-helmet hits yesterday in the Ravens-Dallas game, and I see other shenanigans taking place in other football games. But the question is, why do we see the level of mediocrity? I look at the AFC North, and that's the division where the Steelers, Ravens, Cincinnati Bengals, and Browns play. And 3 out of 4 teams are always perennial to go to the playoffs. But if you look at it now, you got Pittsburgh and Baltimore with a 500 record, and Cincinnati below 500. Now, are there some teams that are playing extremely well? Dallas and Seattle. Yes, they are well-disciplined teams. The reason why I'm bringing up the NFL in this video is because it has a reflection on other venues in life. I attend college to take a few classes. And what I see students who don't work hard. They don't care about coming to class, but yet they get A's. And in some venues, they don't even teach U.S. history. They teach more indoctrination of political correctness, of accepting gay and lesbian marriage, feminism, and other political venues that really don't have anything to do with how to succeed in life. But going back to the NFL, I see many rule changes that really help the offense, but never the defense. And I look at some of the players, they sign big contracts, and once they get the big money, they're not as hungry. Now, I know there are many people who don't like Joe Flacco from the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I like Flacco. Now, he wouldn't have been my first choice of quarterback when the Ravens were looking for a quarterback. The one that they really wanted was Troy Smith, but he got hurt. And then he tried for Matt Ryan, but he went to Atlanta. I mean, you look at the quarterback Dallas has, he's fantastic. But I looked at that game yesterday. Certainly one team played better than the other in the second half. Dallas outplayed Baltimore. That's what I'm talking about. They weren't hungry enough. And at the end, there's always an excuse. And these individuals are making a lot of money. Now, the reason why I believe the NFL is mediocre from my point of view is because of the salary cap. Salary cap is like socialism. And what the salary cap does, it keeps parity. Well, parity just waters everything down. Doesn't tell me who the best team is. But over the years, I've seen some teams fight through the parity and others don't. I'll give you an example. New England does a fantastic job because their individuals, particularly Tom Brady, he took less money to bring back weapons around him. Joe Flacco, on the other hand, did not. He got the big money, and all the pieces of the puzzle had to be released, and they went to other teams. And from the Super Bowl year of 2012, Ravens have only made the playoffs one time. Pittsburgh hasn't done very well in the playoffs lately either. They're getting old. But the reason why parity hurts the NFL is because you don't have dynasties. Remember back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s? You had the Baltimore Colts and the Green Bay Packers. 70s had the Steelers, the Dolphins, the Raiders. The 80s, it was the Redskins, the Giants, the Cowboys. The 90s, oh, don't forget the San Francisco 49ers in the 80s. And then in the 90s, it featured, of course, Dallas Cowboys, the 2000s, and now you got New England. Now, looking at the dynamics of the game, if you're a defensive back, you can't even touch the receiver. And the bottom line is, not being able to touch the receiver gives the receiver a lot of opportunities to catch the ball and score. Now let me give you an analysis. Being a defensive back in football, if you can hit the receiver, not after 5 yards, but after 10 yards, you will disrupt his route. And if you disrupt his route, you're not going to get burned as a defensive back. Now, the pass interference. See a lot of ticky-tack pass interference calls where the defensive back has his hand slightly on a jersey of the offensive or the wide receiver. Should that be legal? Absolutely. I remember back in the days they had bump and run. In fact, they played a better quality game than they do now, and they made less money. In fact, the athletes were more in the community. It's not like they're not in the community now, but I just believe the game has gotten soft. I understand with the amount of concussions. But I will tell you this, you'll never have guys like Dick Butkus anymore. Deacon Jones. You never have those types of guys. Mean and hungry guys. But today you got a bunch of wusses out here. They make a lot of money and they don't try as hard. And here's the problem going back to the salary cap. Okay, you get a draft pick. You'll sign him for 4 years. After 4 years, he's either going to take less money or go to another team. That's what happened to Torrey Smith of the Baltimore Ravens. Players got too expensive because of Flacco's contract. And you see the damage that it has done to the Ravens. The offensive line is pitiful. I looked at the Green Bay Packers yesterday. They lost 42-24 to the Redskins. Wasn't the same Aaron Rodgers. Of course, guys get hurt. Now, my question is, are some of these guys out of shape? I can understand the first month of the season when guys don't play in every game of the preseason. But even Green Bay, they looked lethargic yesterday. Aaron Rodgers played a great game. But it wasn't enough to stop the Washington Redskins' attack. Just like the Ravens, they played a good first half. But it wasn't enough to stop the Dallas Cowboy attack. In fact, the Dallas Cowboys line was much more physical, and that's why they were able to drive down the field with 2 successive long drives of 80 yards or more. Usually when you pin somebody back on their 10 or 12-yard line or even the 7-yard line, you have a good defense. That offense isn't going to drive down the field to score a touchdown. But with the Ravens, it happened. The center of the Ravens, and I'm picking on the Ravens now because we're utilizing this team as being mediocre. Well, the center committed a lot of dumb plays. Your team picks you up, gets the first down, and then you have a player who's undisciplined. He causes a 15-yard penalty, and that hurts your team. All that hard work that went into executing the play. But I see a lot of this. Is it that these players just don't care? I'm not going to say they don't care. Is it some of the rule changes, the ticky-tack calls? Because I wouldn't want to be a defensive back or any type of defensive guy that has to stick a receiver or a running back coming out of the backfield. And I definitely don't like this parity. Let's go into the business aspect of how this can change. If your team cannot make it in one city, move to a city that you're going to have the audience to support you. I mean, I hear Raiders, they're trying to move out to Las Vegas. I remember when the old Baltimore Colts moved to Indianapolis. But with the rule changes, the salary cap, the undisciplined players, the league has become more of an entertainment league. I don't even call it the NFL. I call it the NEL, the National Entertainment League. Because I'm watching a bunch of entertainment. Yes, there's skilled athletes out there. But the game is not the same. Can't do any helmet-to-helmet hits. Can't hit the quarterback. I mean, I saw some ticky-tack calls with roughing the passer. Hit the quarterback in the chest. Or even tap the quarterback 15 yards. That takes the joy out of watching the football game. And it's going to get worse because there are going to be more rules instituted to try to alleviate the contact. Next thing you know, I can see in the next 10 years, they're going to be playing flag football out there with no kickoffs because they want to eliminate the kickoff because they think the kickoff is unnecessary. What do you want to do? Put the ball at the 25-yard line? No, kick the ball off. And the reason why they want to do that is because they want to alleviate kickoff returns. And let me tell you something. With all these intents that are happening, the intent doesn't bring wisdom. You know, when you don't have people like Devin Hester running the ball back, like Gale Sayers did, that's one phase of the game that's gone. That might sound like I'm all over the place with this, but I'm not. If you really listen to what I'm saying, the game has gotten mediocre. And I said the salary cap, I utilize that. It's gotten mediocre on numerous occasions. Again, you had bad refereeing. You have players getting hurt, so you have to use players that are off the practice squad. They don't know the system because they don't practice. They don't take enough reps in any type of situation to utilize the system. And also, a lot of the coaches are bad. Most of these coaches that you see are revolving door coaches from other teams. They get fired, they go to another team. I mean, Hugh Jackson used to be the quarterback's coach for the Baltimore Ravens. He was also a head coach for Oakland, and he did a disastrous job. And you can look at the fruits of his labor now with the Cleveland Browns. They're 0-10. And they may be the next Detroit Lions by going 0-16. And the next Tampa Bay Buccaneers team who went 0-14 in 1976. I remember that royally. But at the end of the day, how are they going to fix it? The first thing they should do is get referees who are in shape, who understand the game, who can keep up with it. Referees can't keep up with the game at all. Officiating's become horrendous. Number 2, go back to bump and run. You should be able to bump and run the receiver all the way down the sidelines because you have just as much right to the ball as the offensive person has. Be allowed to hit the quarterback. That's part of the game. Now, should you hit him in the head with your helmet? No, that can cause a concussion. But you should be able to hit him in the chest, in the legs. Football's a contact sport. Okay, eliminate the horse collar. That's understandable. You know, things that could really be unsafe, like face masks, the crackback block. But if you understand the game of football like I do, if you really look at it in depth, it's a horrible game now. And some of these college football players who are looking for the big money, it's not going to be the same game when you get into pros. In fact, the game is much faster. See, you may be the star in college, but when you get to the NFL, you might not even make the roster. I remember there was a player by the name of Keenan Edwards. He was a great quarterback with the Naval Academy. Where is he now? He's on the Baltimore Ravens practice squad. In other words, he had the numbers in college. And it also depends on where you get drafted. If you get drafted in the first 2, maybe 3 rounds, you have a good chance of making it. But if you are in the 4th through the 7th round, you may get cut. You may make it, but you may be cut. But you have to work a little harder. Now, another solution would be to get rid of the salary cap. Remember, football is business. And in every business, there's going to be no fairness. You compete with other teams. It's about a market. And if your team can't make it in a market in the NFL, sell the team to another ownership or move it to another city, or have a contractual agreement where you disband the team and you have the other teams claim your players in it, almost like an expansion draft, but it's not an expansion draft. Because I'm just tired of every Sunday watching a game of individuals who are soft, poor execution, and it's an offensive show. I like to see good defense. A good 30-27 game where there are a lot of executions on actually all 3 phases of the game going on. If you look at the World Series, and I know a number of people talk about baseball and how boring it is, that was one of the most exciting World Series I've seen. And it got good ratings. That's because both teams played with heart. And you know, there's no salary cap in baseball. And baseball is a national pastime. And with that being said, well, everybody take a look at tonight's game. It's going to be between Houston and Oakland. And I'm glad I'm not playing in that game because the altitude is going to be much higher in Mexico City than it is in Denver, Colorado. But I just wanted to give everybody who's a sports enthusiast an idea of what's going on in the NFL. If you're looking at the same issues that I'm seeing. That's this edition for the 401 Talk Zone radio show on this day, Monday, November 21st, 2016. You can tune into the 401 Talk Zone radio show on Blog Talk Radio every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Of course, it's on Blog Talk Radio. Guest calling number is 215-383-5785. And if you like the videos and the content that I'm presenting to you, please subscribe, because I'm giving you free educational advice. And on this channel, we like to keep everything positive. So make sure that you understand that this is a channel for education, and we get into different topics: business, news, education, and information. So we don't engage in any drama or in debates. Feel free to leave a comment. I'll make sure that your comments are pithy, no bloviating or pettifogging if you wish to opine. And also, if you have a business that you would like for me to discuss or any topic, just email me at lej6521@gmail.com. Until next time, my name is Leon Jones. Remember, please be gentle and respectful with each other, and have a wonderful and blessed afternoon.